So it's 9 a.m. We are officially kicking off live from New York. It's Friday morning, at least where we are. Welcome to Creative Mornings, New York. My name is Kyle Baptista.
And I'm Christina Hug, and we're going to be your pre-show hosts today.
We're so glad you're here. Thank you for waking up early with us or staying up late. We're proud to be just one of nearly 70 Creative Mornings virtual events today. So if this is your second or third Creative Mornings event of the day, kudos to you. Thanks for coming. We're lucky to have you.
For anyone who's on the wait list and is now joining us on YouTube, welcome, hello, we see you, and we're so glad you're here. Lisa and Monica on our team are in the chat to help you out with any questions. This is a whole new world for us, so if we experience any technical difficulties, we ask you to bear with us. And YouTube, if we lose you, keep an eye on your Twitter and your email for messaging about how to rejoin.
And a note for our attendees who require sign language services, I'm honored to introduce the wonderful Kanara Price, our longtime New York volunteer. She's here to provide that for you. To keep Kanara pinned to your screen, switch to gallery view in the top right of your Zoom window. For Kanara's name, find Kanara's name, .asl-Kanara, hover over her video and you'll see 3 dots. Click that to pin Kanara's video. And as a reminder, that can only be done from gallery view. Another important point, change your own name to include .asl at the front. We'll need this to find you later on. Those are the same 3 dots. We'll let you rename yourself as well as find Kanara to pin her.
Okay, so for those of you on Zoom, we're gonna have a full welcome to Zoom moment in a little bit. But for right now, we're gonna give you a few hot tips. First off, turn on your video. At our core, we are a face-to-face community and we'd love to see you. You're all on mute, given the size of this Zoom room, but if you do want to clap for someone, you can use jazz hands, or you can come up with some DIY emoji reactions that you wanna do.
There will be moments when your event view will change as we spotlight different participants in the call. Alexa's gonna walk us through this in a bit, but note to our YouTube viewers, you're gonna have front row seats to the host view, which is our recommended view for the entire event.
Okay, so let's have some fun in this gallery view. Those of you who aren't sure how to toggle, it's up in the top right, speaker view, gallery view, goes from one face to lots of faces. And we want to do a little gallery view test. First, let's do a drink check. Let's see your coffee mugs, if it's afternoon where you are, whatever you may be drinking. Hold them up high. Let's see what you're having. Ooh, I love these.
We already noted tiger mug. We've got some people hydrating with water. That's very smart.
I see an upstate and chill mug. Very good.
So it looks like mostly coffees. All right.
It's pretty on brand.
Yeah. Next, we want to know if you have quarantine coworkers. So that includes anything like children, partners, roommates, cats, plants, dogs. We'd love to see them. And if they're sleeping, it's worth waking them up for this. Go ahead and bring them on screen. I'd like to introduce my coworker, Ginger. Come here. Come on up. Come on up. Ginger says good morning. Y'all have your coworkers there?
I see some cats. I see a cat at Skylar's house. I see some kiddos. I love how many people are getting dragged into the Zoom call right now. Oh,
for those of you unwittingly joining our call, thank you for coming. Oh, so many good doggos, so many good cats. Kids,
this is awesome.
Spouses and roommates. Y'all didn't know you'd be on video to so many people so early.
Who knew this was a whole house affair? For anyone just joining, I'm just watching some more participants come in. This is the pre-show. We are Christina and Kyle from Creative Mornings, New York. You are in the right Zoom. I just want to make sure everyone is welcome, turning on their camera, saying hello to folks. We're going to get started in just a little bit. But here's some ways. So we've all been on different Zooms, and we wanted to give you some pointers on how Creative Mornings gathers in a Zoom and some of the tips of the trade, if you might say. So one of them we've kind of covered, and it's basically that pets are highly encouraged. So if you've got some furry coworkers or other people coming through the shot, we want to see them, bring them on out and make sure they are front and center.
Virtual backgrounds and Snapchat filters are welcome. Here I'm transported now to Prospect Park. Or do I want to be on the set of Seinfeld?
You move so fast, Kyle. Also, DIY backgrounds are next level. We've seen a few of you have kitted out your backdrop. Maybe you even moved some plants around. Alexa has some DIY emojis she's showing up in her screen, as is Julie. So anything you want to do to make your own. We're seeing some Creative Mornings signs. This is great. Make your space your own.
And just remember, you don't have to be a statue. Feel free to move around, to stretch if you need to.
And also, you can get up, and as you're moving around, if you're going to go make breakfast, if you need another cup of coffee, bring us with you. We'd love to see where you're going, what you're up to. And you don't have to feel like you're missing out on something just because you might be moving around a little.
Mm-hmm. But please note, if you're going to the bathroom, leave us behind.
Yeah, you can come back for that. And also, this might be the third time we're saying it, but I think it's worth saying again, pets are highly encouraged. So please, show us your pets. We want to see.
Definitely. Now we're going to throw it over to our colleague Alexa, and she's going to help you get comfy in the Zoom room. She literally wrote the guide to how to use Zoom. Alexa, welcome.
Thank you, Kyle. So lovely to be here. I'm just going to give y'all a couple quick tips on Zoom. First is kind of the basic gallery view versus speaker view. You'll notice a couple times throughout the event that you might be automatically pushed to speaker view, and that's because I'm just trying to highlight certain people as the kind of video director. If you want to be in gallery view so that you can see everybody throughout the event and really feel like you're sitting next to people at an in-person event, just go to the top right corner of the screen and click gallery view. So again, if anytime you're directed to speaker view and you want to be in gallery view, top right, click gallery view, you're great. Another way that we want to help y'all connect is to invite you to rename yourself and add your Instagram handle or social media handle, whatever you prefer, at the end of your name. So you can notice on my name, it says Alexa, and then there's a line and it says Cutler A. That's me. So in order to do that, you can just go to participants. So you click at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little pop-up, find your name and hover over it. And then you can click more or ... and click rename. So I'm gonna invite y'all to do that now. We're gonna do some breakout rooms later. And that way, if you find someone who you connect with or you're really excited to collaborate with, it'll be really easy to find them after the event. Awesome, I see some people doing that. I'll be tech support in the chat along with a couple other CMNYC people, so you can always ask us to repeat these things. Another quick note, if you'd like to be put in an ASL breakout group, you can please put ASL in the front of your name. That way we can know and we can put you in the group. Something y'all will notice right now is that you are muted. We've muted all participants upon entry, but we still want to create so many opportunities for engagement throughout the call. You will have those. So first of all, as Christina and Kyle said, I really encourage y'all to share some emojis and reactions in the chat. We want this to feel like we are in the Creative Mornings room together. We're at the Invisible Dog or wherever we are. So make sure to share some thoughts in the chat. You can also quickly hop on and make some DIY signs, just some paper and pens, share them with us. Like Christina said, show us your jazz hands, engage. We are, we're all here and we're all excited to be together at this first virtual event that we're hosting. Yeah, so I'm going to throw it back. A quick note that when you are in the breakout room, you will be able to unmute yourself, and you just do that by going to the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, clicking the little microphone icon and unmuting. So don't worry about that. We got that, and we are so excited. All right, passing it back over.
Thanks, Alexa. That's a great run through. So one thing we love providing every month at our events is coffee and breakfast. We're so sorry we're not able to hand you a hot cup of coffee and a warm croissant this morning, but we're going to recreate the next best part of that experience, which is the lineup to get your coffee and breakfast. It's every month at our events, it's the serendipitous moment where you get to connect and have a one-on-one conversation with other members of our wonderful community.
For those of you who are on Zoom with us right now, YouTubers, don't worry, we'll chat with you in a second. We're going to go into coffee line breakout rooms. This means you'll be sent to another room with a few of your fellow morning people, and we invite you to chat about a specific prompt. This prompt is what's something that you're actually enjoying during quarantine. This is the time to turn on your camera. You'll be able to unmute your mic in the breakouts. If you need to get out of your breakout room, you can simply leave and come back to the main room. But we encourage you, if your environment allows it, to embrace this invitation to connect and say hello.
And a quick word of warning, it's going to look like you're getting kicked out of the Zoom call, but that's not the case. If you sit tight, you'll get placed into your room. And with this number of people, it might take us a few minutes. To get this set up. So bear with us. We'll do a stretch if it doesn't work. And Alexa, we're ready to go.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to place y'all in rooms. Just a note to my CMNYC friends, because of the quick turnaround, I'm just going to have y'all quickly leave the breakout room that you're in. And if you are ASL, if you can also leave the room, and I'll put you in a room after. All right, I'm going to open the rooms. Let's see what happens. We got 7 minutes, and I have pressed the button. We will see if this works. Okay, hold on one moment. Okay. They are opening. They are not starting. So I'm going to invite y'all to just take a moment and take a breath. And we are going to stretch. I'm going to try this again. We've seen from a couple events that sometimes it can be a little hard with the breakout rooms with so many people, but we are going to do this. Okay, they are starting. You will be sent, or you should be. It says they're starting. Let us see. Is anybody moving into the breakout rooms? No. 3:48. Okay. Christina and Kyle, do you have anything you want to share? You want to share your answer to the breakout room question?
We sure do. Thanks for keeping us busy, Alexa, as we do this. And if you get cut off, don't worry. I will repeat myself when you come back to the breakout room. One of the things that I'm really enjoying about this quarantine time is the ability to go to virtual events like this and to go to different chapters of Creative Mornings around the world. And also I've been helping run the virtual field trips, which has been such a spark of joy, seeing people around our community. Field trips are workshops that are taught by our community for our community. And we're taking them online and seeing people share their skills and learn from one another and connect. It is something that just absolutely makes my heart explode every day.
Mm. And for those of y'all, if you want to start putting your answers in the chat, what's something that you're actually enjoying during this quarantine? We'd love to start sharing those as well. I think for me personally, it's been the ability to cook more, a lot more. I've been doing a lot of experimental combinations of things from my pantry, and I've been cooking 3 meals a day. And something I have not loved is the amount of dishes I've been producing as a result of that.
All right, keep sharing your thoughts in the chat because it looks like our first round of breakout rooms might not happen. We're getting some Zoom difficulties. I'm going to try one more time.
We're seeing lots of answers, people who are also cooking, baking. I saw someone who said that they're able to wear comfy clothes, which is great. I don't know if anyone else is in the phase where you're deeming any pants that aren't leggings or sweatpants as hard pants. I am there, definitely.
Lots of animal interactions, bonding with my cat, feeding birds, getting to know the squirrel population, doing a pigeon census. Amazing.
Ooh, velour scrunchies, kicking it up a notch.
I love these answers. Yeah, Christina and Kyle, y'all might want to, I think we should keep moving because I don't think this coffee line, I think we've just been so fast on our coffee delivery that there's actually no line this morning. So
a Creative Mornings without a line for coffee, I mean, kudos to you.
As the Creative Mornings coffee person, I feel like I did a great job. I did too good a job. Okay, it's y'all go on.
Great. We love seeing your comments. Please feel free to keep sharing them with us. We love sharing them back to y'all.
I'm going to take a second and go over and see if we're getting any comments on quarantine. Someone's making gluten-free sourdough at YouTube. I would like to know you. I'm also gluten-free, would love to know what's happening. Please let me know.
We see y'all who are taking care of other people's plants, sometimes several other people's plants. Thank you for becoming accidental plant parents. I'm sure your friends who aren't home or can't be at the office appreciate it.
And Carrie is able to do on YouTube, yoga with her instructor on the West Coast when she's on the East Coast, connecting from afar.
Lily's wearing activewear 24/7. So am I.
Someone suggested a gluten-free sourdough field trip. Yes, please. I'm now co-opting this from Nancy and YouTube. Please hit me up. Let's do this. I want to learn.
Marin in Hamilton, her boyfriend's dedication to perfecting barbecue. Now that's a great quarantine roommate to have. Amazing.
A noble cause, for sure.
Lots of yoga. Priscilla, that's great. Tiffany, not having to commute. Tiffany's in NYC, so that is especially great for everyone who doesn't have to deal with that these days.
Ooh, a virtual cocktail hour with friends. And pantry diving, which I had never heard about. Apparently going and finding those fancy condiments that you'd forgotten that you had and doing something with them. I like that. I feel like that's like a chef challenge of a secret ingredient. Adding a random sauce.
A lot of people have been attending other Creative Mornings events. That's really great to hear. And as I mentioned, the amount of events happening just today, there's a world of the Creative Mornings universe available to you.
And just a heads up, if y'all aren't familiar with how to use the chat option, it's at the bottom of your screen. You can just click chat and that way you can share what you're thinking. Zoom currently thinks that we're in the breakout room. So I think that we're having this, I think this is a technical issue we might not overcome today, but definitely keep sharing in the chat.
And also for anyone who's joining and is still a little concerned as to who we are and what's happening, you are at Creative Mornings, New York. I'm Christina, co-host is Kyle. We're just hitting up the pre-show, letting people get here, settle in, and just making your morning a little brighter.
We're just reading out what people are enjoying during this quarantine. Lori in Brooklyn. Hi, Lori. She's rewatching Lost. That's the best show for quarantine. And if you don't get the reference, it's about a bunch of people deserted on an island. So it is very appropriate for the times. A lot of workouts from home. That's amazing.
Kyle, your hat just got a shout out.
Woo!
So do we think, a lot of people are mentioning like sort of time to relax and reflect, and they're like getting into some new music.
We're sorry we didn't get those breakout rooms working in the coffee line. Thank you so much for sharing all of your comments on YouTube and Zoom. It's a tradition at every month's Creative Mornings New York to welcome a local musician or performer to take the stage. We were inspired to do this after attending an event at Creative Mornings Austin. The Austin event inspired performances at Creative Mornings events around the world.
Today, we are excited to have Sarah Goldstone join us as our virtual musician. Sarah is a pianist, keyboardist, vocalist, violinist, and composer based in Brooklyn, New York. Her single Love and Loneliness from her first solo EP is out now. You can follow Sarah on Instagram at Sarah Gold. Live from her living room, please welcome Sarah Goldstone.
Hi, everyone. Thanks to Creative Mornings for having me. It's so nice. This is a song I wrote back in January. It's about self-reliance and knowing yourself and what you can give to someone. If you let me hold you, baby, if you let me in, if you let me call you, baby, before I go to bed, I know my way around here, I know my way around, up the stairs to find you, hoping you're still around. I've lived for years in this house, I know my way around, I know my way around here, I know how the floorboards sound, I know my way around, I keep my feet on the ground. West Coast kids, they just wanna go back. You can't make them stay. Walk these streets for a while till they fly away. I've learned too much to be easy to love. I know my way around. It's not enough to be simple to love. I know my way around. I've learned too much to be easy to love. I know my way around. It's not enough to be simple to love. I know my way around. I keep my feet on the ground. I've lived for years in this house. I know how my voice sounds. I keep my feet on the ground.
Thank you, Sarah. I mean, you can't hear it, but there's a lot of applause and jazz hands happening for you. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. For those of you watching, if you'd like to buy Sarah a coffee or fill up her tip jar with appreciation, you can do so via her Venmo. That's at Sarah-Goldstone. We've shared Sarah's Venmo and website in the chat. And fun fact about Sarah, she also offers virtual piano lessons. So be sure to connect with her if you're interested in that. So, thank you.
Now, I'm sure the question on everyone's mind right about now, or potentially for the last half hour, is, okay, but seriously, who are these people and where's Tina? Again, we have been Christina and Kyle from Creative Mornings HQ. Thank you for being part of our pre-show.
Thanks for tuning in, watching on Zoom, watching on YouTube, for sharing your thoughts with us in the chat. Thanks to my mom for tuning in from Toronto. If she was able to figure out Zoom, I'm not sure. Tina, over to you.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, Kyle and Christina. This pre-show made me very happy, and I think going forward, we need forever have to have a pre-show. I feel like a rock star that just had the best pre-warm-up band. So thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I must say my heart is beating really fast. I'm Tina Roth-Eisenberg. I'm the founder and the New York City host of Creative Mornings. And I admit this is a very moving moment for me after 11.5 years of putting on live events to welcome you from my bedroom. I want to say hi to everyone who's here today on Zoom and also everyone who's tuning in on the YouTube live stream. My team and I really appreciate you taking time to be here. Especially, I know a lot of us have video conferencing fatigue, so we appreciate you making this a priority. I started Creative Mornings because I believe in real connections being made face to face and not behind a computer screen. But hey, if it takes a moment like this to find new ways to connect, I'm here for it. I'll take on the challenge. Since this physical distancing started, numerous hosts jumped fearlessly into moving the events online. And my team here at HQ has helped them tirelessly to make sure they have everything they need for this massive shift. And quite beautifully, this has allowed me as the founder of this organization to attend Creative Mornings events around the globe. And let me tell you, I am moved deeply with what I'm experiencing. I fully admit I was super reluctant in the idea of moving these events virtual. I'm a feeler. I love to be in the presence of people. I didn't believe that we can replicate the magic of what a real Creative Mornings feels like, but our organizers have proven me wrong. They have proven me that when done thoughtfully with love and care, digital gatherings can actually touch you. It can make you feel warm and fuzzy inside, and it can be deeply meaningful. So thank you for changing my mind on that. While I admit the Zooming thing will never replace IRL for me, but in a time like this where we are right now, if we are saving lives by staying home, we adapt, we learn to gather differently. I believe that Creative Mornings exists to align hearts and to create human connection. And if for the time being, this is how we have to do it, so be it. We'll figure this out. We'll find ways for you to make connection like you did before. And I really believe that the world needs community right now, this kind, forward, loving type of community more than ever. And I believe that if this moment is teaching us something, I would say that there's a global aligning of hearts happening, a global understanding that we're all one. That we're all connected on this beautiful, fragile planet Earth. For me, it's a true privilege to be running a global organization with volunteers in over 67 countries and really seeing this aligning of hearts at play. If you're one of our chapter volunteers from another city tuning in right now, I want to thank you for all your hard work that you put into making your Creative Mornings events happen, and especially now that you're moving them to the digital space. What you're doing is really making a difference. So while preparing for today, my team and I, we thought long and hard about how to translate the magic of Creative Mornings from the real life events into this digital space. And it was a really interesting exercise to think about what is essential to bring the spirit of Creative Mornings to a place like Zoom. We kept certain elements and we ditched others. For example, it was really important to me not to have slides. I want you to see each other, stay in that gallery view, see people's faces and smiles. I don't want this to feel like a webinar. So make sure to take advantage of the gallery view. Feel free to ditch me as the speaker view, okay? Instead of slides, we have hand-painted signs, analog for the win. And we are eager to hear what you think of today's event. Let us know what resonated, what you would love to see more of. If you have ideas how we can make it better, we are here for it. Just tell us after the event, there's going to be a survey that goes out. Please let us know. I feel like I'm learning a whole new way of putting on events, so I'm here for all of the ideas you have. All right. So for those of you who are Creative Mornings regulars, you know that every month we have someone special from within our community read our manifesto. The manifesto really sets the tone and sort of reminds us of our values of our organization. And today I have the honor to welcome Holly Collier Murchison. She was born and raised in New York City. She's a communication and education strategist. Hi, Holly, there you are. She lives in North Carolina. She's a former Creative Morning speaker and also just became the host of the new chapter in Winston-Salem, and which makes me so very happy. I have followed Holly for years, and I can wholeheartedly say that she's an incredibly thoughtful and kind human, and I'm so happy to have her here with us today. Holly, please take the stage.
Thank you so much, Tina. I'm joining from my magical garden here. It really warms my heart to see 384 people on this. This is wild. So I'll lead with the manifesto. Everyone is creative. A creative life requires bravery and action, honesty and hard work. We are here to support you, celebrate with you, and encourage you to make the things you love. We believe in the power of community. We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face connections and learning from others, in jazz hands, virtual claps, and virtual snaps. We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will inspire one another and inspire change in neighborhoods and cities around the world. Everyone is welcome.
Thank you so much, Holly. We appreciate you so much, and I can't wait to attend your first event in Winston-Salem. All right, who is here for the first time? Maybe raise your mug or your hands, or I want to see first timers. I see some of you. Hi. So here's where at a regular event, I usually say after the event, I want you to feel really welcome. Come up to me after the event and I'll give you a hug. I don't really know how to translate that into a world of Zoom. So just consider yourself hugged. Oh, what the heck? All of you consider yourself hugged, not just your first timers. So happy you're here. For the first timers, you might not know that we're actually happening all around the world and not just in New York. We have 215 chapters around the world, all run by volunteers in 67 countries. I call Creative Mornings an engine of generosity, made possible by our volunteers and also fueled by companies that really believe in this community, companies that give a damn, companies that believe in the power of meeting up. And this is where normally our fancy partner slides come in. But no, we don't have slides, but don't you worry. I have some hand-drawn slides right here behind me. So let me do that. I want to introduce you to some of these companies that support us and make this possible. So I want to start with introducing you to Harvest. And actually, I think I saw Danny, one of the founders, is actually on the Zoom call today. So Danny, hi, hand-drawn for you. In case you're not familiar with Harvest, they're a local New York City company here. They made time tracking, invoicing, and team planning actually really enjoyable. And what I'm really excited about is that we just announced a virtual field trip that that Alexa, who's actually on here, hi Alexa, is going to be hosting, that we did in partnership with them. And during this virtual workshop, you will make your very own personal time capsule, quarantine edition. And it's part of our interview series that we created, Time Well Spent. And it's designed to support you in capturing where you are in this unique moment in time and history, and help you think about how to create new perspectives, rituals, and habits for your days as we navigate this unusual time together and apart. My team, I think they just put the link into the chat so you can sign up and learn more. I'm going to be there. I'm super excited for it. So thank you, Harvest, for supporting us locally here in New York. And then let me introduce you to our global partners. First off, we have Mailchimp. Hello there, Mailchimp. I'm a monkey now. Mailchimp has been supporting us for over 11 years. Talk about being committed to our cause. And most of you might know Mailchimp as a newsletter tool, but there's so much more than that. They're an all-in-one marketing platform, and you can check them out at Mailchimp.com. And here's something beautiful that happened. About a week into being shelter at home, I found myself on a call with the co-founder, Ben, in which he just asked me, Tina, how can we help your community? And as I was dealing with the falling apart of my other company, Tatley, and being really in a stressful moment, financially stressful moment, I just blurted out to him saying, well, like, we all want rent relief, like, and if you could just like maybe give us subscription relief for a few months, that would help so many companies right now. And he just nodded and said like, all right, that's a good idea. he walked away and made it happen. So Mailchimp is offering our Creative Mornings attendees in April 3 months free of their paid and standard account plan. So this applies if you're a current customer or for a new customer, and all you need to do is fill out the form that my team is putting into the chat right now. And I must say, this is incredibly generous. So this offer expires on April 30th, so get on it. And I just want to thank Mailchimp for their ongoing support and just generosity in this moment in time. All right, that was Mailchimp. Let me put this back here. Then I want to introduce you to WordPress analog slide. I'm a loyal WordPress customer, have been for over 10 years with my blog. And I'm sure some of you are thinking about sprucing up your website, moving your business online. Thousands of small businesses, online stores, and freelancers call WordPress.com their home. So you can set up your website for free. And if you want to add on some features, be sure to visit WordPress.com/CreativeMornings because you get 20% off free. All right. And then last but not least, Basecamp. Basecamp joined the global partner family about a month ago. And I admit, I am really crazy proud to have gained Jason Fried's trust. He's one of the co-founders, and I admire him deeply and how he runs his company. And over a dinner a few months ago, he said to me, you know, Tina, we don't advertise on Google or on Facebook, but by saving that money, we can support an organization like yours. And that really, really touched me. And if you're not familiar with Basecamp, I recommend you check them out. They help organizations, teams and individuals manage projects efficiently and effectively, keeping everything in one place. It's super organized. I really highly recommend it. And that concludes our partner segment. Put it back. All right. Are you all still with me? Yes, thank you. All right. Normally at the Creative Mornings events, we play a thing called Stand Up If. But it would be a little weird if I made you stand up right now and I would see like a lot of body movement. So we're not going to do that. We're going to do the raise your mug if instead. So if you don't have a mug, just use your hand. But I'm going to make statements. And if they apply to you, I would ask you to raise your mug so we can see that you're saying yes to this. All right. Here's the raise your mug if. Raise your mug if it's been a hard few weeks for you. I think we all agree to that. Okay, raise your mug if you've been to one of our Creative Mornings field trips. If you've been to a field trip, raise your mug. If you've also hosted one, do both at the same time. I see heads going. Oh, so many hosts are here. This makes me so happy. Alexandra and Bob in Brooklyn, I see you. Yay. Raise your mug if you've gone on a virtual date or you want to. All right, how many mugs are going up? Not that many right now. Oh, I see one. This is great. Okay, last one. Raise your mug if you overdue for a haircut. Oh my God, I'm so overdue for a haircut. My 10-year-old son is refusing to let me cut his hair. I don't know how this is gonna end. All right, so this ends up our raise your mug if. Thank you for participating. All right, now we go into the main segment of our event, and I'm so excited. And I have an analog slide for you. This month's theme, a global theme around the world, is purpose. Here's the very analog printout of our theme. The theme was picked by the Indianapolis chapter and illustrated by Jason Radcliffe. There we go. I want to give a shout out to my neighbor, Andy, who printed this for me because I only have a black and white printer. So thank you, Andy. And it's quite eerie if you think of it, because these monthly themes have been set a good year in advance. And how timely is it for all of us to kind of rethink the purpose of pretty much everything right now? It definitely made me rethink a lot about the purpose of these gatherings. So I'm really, really, really moved to introduce and welcome Priya Parker as our guest today. When I read her book, The Art of Gathering, in 2018, I literally felt like I found my personal Bible. Every year I kind of have a book that is my book, and 2018, Priya, this was it. Priya, your book has given me a language to explain things, so many things that I do intuitively, but I finally had language to explain it to other people, so thank you for that. Priya is an authority on gatherings. She's also a master facilitator, a strategic advisor, an executive producer, and host of the brand new New York Times podcast called Together Apart, which I love. The phrase, "what would Priya do?" can often be heard at Creative Mornings HQ. And so Priya, thank you for being here today. I know you're so busy with all that you have going on, and you have 2 little kids that need to be homeschooled. So let's give some jazz hands up for Priya, everybody. Hi, Priya. Okay. Priya, on March 6th, you texted me, and the text said, "Tina, what are the internal discussions on Corona across the chapters? And what are you doing about the New York City event?" Priya, I swear, my heart stopped, because up until that moment, I was pretty much still in denial about for what's ahead. But you asking me this really snapped me out of that. So here we are a few weeks later, meeting digitally. And I have watched you launch with so much curiosity into the challenge that we're facing right now and what it means for gatherings. So can you tell us a bit about what the past 5 weeks have been like for you, what you've noticed, and why you would say gatherings are so important in this moment of time? Have we lost Priya right now?
It looks like we might have lost Priya. She's here, but her video does not seem to be working.
Oh, okay.
Let's see.
Let's see what happened, because she was just here a second ago.
She was.
Another great moment for a stretch break, everyone. Who's feeling stiff?
Love
Let's
us.
get those hands up there.
Priya, she's in the call.
She's in the call.
Um,
Well, I just saw her a second ago, so she's here. She's somewhere.
Building suspense.
Yeah. Let's keep stretching for a second, everyone.
All right, one more stretch, everybody. You're gonna go over on your right side or left. I don't know if I'm mirrored.
All right, let's see.
Bring it back.
Let's see what's happening here. I've been texting with her earlier, so.
So, Tina, if you want to maybe get her on the phone, it seems like something's going on with her video because it won't let me spotlight her.
What do you mean to getting her on the phone?
If you want to call her, maybe we can do a speakerphone chat in the meantime.
I think I just
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are.
There we go. Priya, there you are.
Yay. Can you see me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Of course, it's completely perfect internet until the second you introduced me. So sorry about that.
Hey, we are here for these challenges.
Exactly. So I've now logged in through my phone, and so happy to be here.
Yay, thank you for making time. So I just want to repeat my question to you. I don't know if you heard it, but you've launched yourself so curiously into what's happening right now. It's just such a pleasure to follow you online and all the things you share. And I can just tell you have your antennas out, Priya, right now. And how are we redefining how we gather in this moment? So what have these past like 5-6 weeks been like for you? Like, what have you noticed, and why do you think this is important?
First of all, it's such a pleasure to be with you all. I always love being with Creative Mornings, and I think just watching, I'll answer your question in a second, but just watching you all and your team navigate, thinking about a digital coffee line, even though the Zoom didn't work, thinking about, I love, Tina, your analog signs to almost invert what we do digitally to then counterbalance the kind of the need for the tactical. And I learned from every call, but I have been so excited for this particular Creative Mornings call, in part because watching how you all think about what is essential and then inverting it is really beautiful. So thank you. And also I keep looking for what are some of the digitally native meaningful experiences, and to be able to watch you warm up and then swipe right 16 times through all of the slides and see Jocelyn Glei and see Sarah Oster and see Mackenzie Stroh and see Tony and see Jessica. It's really amazing to actually look out and see each person. If you have to slow down. But if we were all together, it's just a sea of faces. And now it's actually more like individual waves.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
So I mean, it's been I think like for all of us, it's been a very strange experience. And my experience, I would say the biggest way that I've kind of pivoted is through this podcast. So I guess I'll start there only because it's the most obvious way that I have pivoted or I don't even know what the word is, crossed over. So my team and I have been working for almost a year on a podcast called Gathering with Priya Parker. And I mean, to the point where we were sending brides in with their voice memos and showing like which point in the ceremony are you going to turn on your voice memo, you know, for the podcast. And it was kind of a Queer Eye for Gatherings makeover show. And you know, birthday people, milestone birthday parties, you know, getting consent from their you know, the dinner table, all of these various things. And about in March, a producer called me and said, basically Gathering, a show called Gathering is going to sound like a horror film. Oh my God. And it was like my little Gathering heart was breaking, not, you know, just realizing the implication of what he was saying, which is the world is ungathering. And so we thought about it, but my emails and my DMs kept on, you know, were being flooded with what do we do now? Right. I was going to, do I cancel my wedding? So on the personal side, do I cancel my wedding? Do we cancel a family reunion? How do I think about a funeral if we can't get everybody together? How do, you know, and then on the work side, the same thing. And so just creatively, I talked to my team and I said, look, the questions are the same. The core of what I am, you started by saying like, what is essential? And at some level, what is your purpose, right? What is the purpose of Creative Mornings? And for me, what is my purpose? And the core of my craft as a facilitator is to help people meaningfully connect despite obstacles. Mm-hmm. And the core of my work the obstacles have almost always been identity and power, right? I'm a race relations facilitator. The core of the groups that I work with are around identity, Muslim, Hindu conflict, or race conflict, or Arab, Jewish, American. And we are now in a moment where we are all trying to figure out how to meaningfully connect despite obstacles. Yeah. And so if you zoom out a little bit, and I think this is true for every gathering, if we're not stuck to the form, right? Yeah. If we're focused on what is the purpose, not what is the activity, which is the core question for all gatherings, then you can actually zoom out a little bit in your own life and say, okay, this is my purpose. It's now just going to look a little bit different.
Wow, what a good challenge to tackle. And I mean, to be honest, I am just so grateful you're here and as a voice and as a leading guiding light for all of us. I really am looking to you all the time for this. So thank you for this. I must say I'm loving your podcast. You're in your 4th episode, I think, or 3rd right now, right?
Yep, we just launched the 3rd.
I must say that one quote you said where like you had this tunnel reference, and I so related to that, sort of saying that we're kind of in this, it's not about the light at the end of the tunnel. It's more like we're in a really long tunnel. We don't even know how long this tunnel is. So can we create light where we are, not just at the end? And I really love that metaphor for the time we're in. So can you maybe speak on that a bit, on like sort of how do you think about that as we're in a long tunnel, and how do we make light in this tunnel right now?
You know, I got a phone call from an older sister, an older sibling. And she said, my younger sister, we're 13 years apart. I'm feeling really badly for her. She's 17 years old. Her prom is canceled. Her graduation is canceled. Her end of class field trips are canceled. All of these sort of things that marked the end of high school. She got into college. She just recently got a note from the college that the fall might be remote learning. And she had a really tough time in high school. And she kind of felt like there was this light at the end of the tunnel, right? She's finally going to get out of this place, finally go fly to Vermont in this case. And it just seems like the tunnel is getting further and further away. And her 18th birthday is coming up, and now she can't even have a party. And so the episode really explores the relationship between these two sisters. And I talked to both of them, and we design a birthday party for her. And the light, the tunnel and the light metaphor actually came from the guest, right? She said, we were talking about a name for the gathering. And I said, what about light at the end of the tunnel? And and at the end of the conversation, she said, what about light at the middle of the tunnel? Mm-hmm. And I think it's really dangerous to pretend that we're not in a tunnel. It's really dangerous to pretend this is not a dark time. Yeah. It's not helpful. And I think part of but I, my lens or my toolkit is gathering. And I think when you create meaningful gatherings, right now, mostly virtually, though I think there's some interesting physical distancing gatherings happening as well, those can be potential sparks of light. And in this case, not to give away the spoiler, every gathering for a birthday party, right? Not just the pointy hats and the candles and everyone zooms in and says hi, and you feel nice in your community, but it doesn't build anything. It's not generative. But how can you actually uniquely use the elements that allow us to digitally gather and create kind of new situations? And so what they ended up deciding is, she always loved reading, and the 17-year-old, but she always did it in private. And it was kind of this thing that she hid. She thought it was like not cool, and everyone else is at a party and she was hiding. And part of what we got to in the conversation was her kind of coming of age, coming out as a whole human being, And so the party is going to be a readathon. And they're inviting their friends. They chose one book that she would love. And this is a tradition from German theater groups. Also, college groups do it sometimes. You read one book aloud for the entire duration it takes. So it's like a 14-hour gathering. And this was just an example of not trying to replicate our offline gatherings online, but actually starting to ask, what is unique to this time? And how do we actually create digitally native, meaningful gatherings? Yeah,
which is the question we're all here to answer, right? By the way, this is like one of those things you don't have happening. My cat just jumped up on the desk, threw over my coffee. It's dripping all over me. Like, hey, we're here for it, right? We can improvise. This is all good. Like, it's
can we get a screenshot of that coffee
off my desk right now?
Oh gosh.
All right. Oh my God, I just love it. I love it. I
while
really
you're
feel
cleaning up, yeah, exactly. Cat problems. While you're cleaning up your coffee, I saw a chat ask, do you sync up after every chapter? No, this is actually, the experience is you read it aloud. So you read aloud the entire book together. You sit and people come, and you can come and go. You can go and get a meal. People come back, but it's literally like a 12-hour, you're hearing a book aloud. It's like reading a book on tape, except it's analog. And you set your camera in this case, and you have this experience together.
See, I feel like I am so energized by seeing how creative people are in coming up with new ways of gathering right now. I mean, I run a choir here in New York, and the person that inspired me to run that choir created a thing called Sofa Singers. And I must tell you, like,
and he's a Creative Morning host, right?
Yeah, not a host. He spoke in December of 2018.
He spoke, okay, yeah.
Me, and he runs choirs, and so he created this thing where he's singing in Wales in his living room, and has like thousands of people tune in, and it's muted, so you sing in the comfort of your own home. It feels like singing in the car, but you see all these faces, and you're singing together. And I would say it was such an absurd experience, yet heart opening. So what other things have you seen that made you go, whoa, that is creative?
Yeah, and I'll also just comment on that. Oops, here's my co-quarantine buddy coming in. So no, I'm literally on. Okay, just come say hi. This is my quarantine buddy.
Hi everybody. I'm gonna just improve Priya's Wi-Fi very quickly. Improve Priya's Wi-Fi.
Oh my God, he's the tech support.
He's my tech support.
This is incredible.
So apparently the reason why I lost you all is because they switched the Wi-Fi the second you introduced me. Okay, let's see.
That is so funny. Well, we're here for it. It's all good. I just love that Anand is tech support. By the way, Anand, congrats on your show. I loved it. I don't know if you can hear us right now. Guys, I literally have coffee dripping all over my floors and my pants right now. Yeah. I'm here for the firsts. I really am. Who of you has read Priya's book? Tell me in the chat if you read her book.
Okay, I think it's actually better to just do it this way. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm just going to go back to old school. I would just say on the choir thing, it's not only what I'm really interested in, and what I would love to hear from this community, and just like put a bug in your ear, is it's not only kind of sweet and cathartic to do things like this, like whether it's the choir. It's actually giving us permission in certain ways to break certain social norms. So at least in the US, over the last 50 years, singing has gone from collective to specialized, right? So over the last 50 years, I mean, I remember seeing one stat where, don't quote me exactly on this, but it was like in the 1950s, Iowa, the state of Iowa alone had like 2,000 local opera houses. And it was something that people went and participated in. It was people sung, in church, in choirs. You just sing. You don't sing because you're Beyonce. You sing to make a joyful noise. And over the course of 70 years, it's become more and more and more specialized, to the point where singing has become something we don't do as human beings. It's something that we get to experience from the best person in the world, and only that. And it becomes embarrassing to sing aloud publicly, particularly in the US. It's not that way necessarily, I know, in India, or in certain other contexts. And here you are, because of what James is doing, actually interrupting that belief that to sing is to be embarrassed, is embarrassing, but you're willing to actually sing again without saying, I'm not a singer. You're just singing in the shower, but you're actually singing collectively. And that's actually a breaking of a norm that I think is very healthy.
Yeah, I agree. Priya, should we try our breakout room, the prompt that we had? Should we do it? I think my team says we can try it. I can't hear you anymore, Priya. Right now, I can't hear you. I mean, Priya, I really love your jacket, and I love that we're color coordinating to a certain extent, but I can't hear you anymore. While Priya's figuring out her sound, I just want to check in with my New York team. Are we giving a thumbs up on trying the breakout room again?
Sorry, I got muted and I couldn't unmute it. There was a central muting.
So I know, Priya, when we were preparing for this call, you and I were really excited about, given we have an incredible community, and we believe everyone is creative, and this is like a creative hive mind. So you and I were really excited about using this as a hive mind, sort of to really generate ideas, or just collect ideas, what people have seen, how people have really gathered meaningfully in this digital world. So I think we should try the breakout room one more time. Like, my team feels very confident that it should work. And can I just
give an example?
Yes, please do.
So what we were talking about is, I'm really curious, and looking around the internet, of how have you seen people gather meaningfully virtually? So not necessarily like going in cars or standing 6 feet apart, physical distancing. I think that's a separate question. But virtually, how have you really seen people take advantage of this digitally kind of native time? And it came from a tweet that I saw by a guy named, he's at Aaron Z. Lewis. You should follow him. And this was the tweet. He said, social skeuomorphism, that feeling when you try to copy paste IRL social activities into a digital context without making any alterations. Digital dinner dates, movie nights often makes you feel more distant by highlighting all the subtle differences between the virtual and the physical. And then he said, I think a good heuristic is, and here's the question, what can we do in digital spaces that's impossible to replicate IRL? Versus how do we take what we're used to and put it on the internet?
Mm-hmm.
And so the prompts that we have, and I'll say one more thing as an inspiring example. It's a little risque, but I loved it. So at Jimmy Riss tweeted, I was at a Zoom party And at the end of the night was maybe 8 folks in the hot tub room. Everyone was in their bath at home, all chilling, the hot tub together. And it turned into Naughty Truth or Dare. And it was a rad and unprecedented for me experience that felt natively digital.
That is amazing. You also had a really good example with Zoom backgrounds, right?
Yeah. So in our conversation, I called Aaron Lewis because he's really thinking very, very creatively about this question. And I said, what are some of the other ways people are starting to think about creating digitally native experiences? And he said, so one idea that I've recently been playing with is, you know, it's hard to sense what people are feeling or thinking in a room. And he said, what if, and he was talking about team dynamics. So on one exercise for teams analog is you have these 6 different colored hats. If you're feeling or thinking or playing a certain role, leader, follower, bystander, you put on a yellow hat or a red hat. This is an exercise facilitators often do. He said on Zoom, what if a team agrees to have like 6 colors as their background Zoom and code each color with an emotion or a thought or a feeling? And when you're having a conversation and, you know, you're just feeling irritated, you push the yellow. If you're feeling triggered, you push, you know, orange. If you love an idea, you push red. And he was making it up, but this idea that like, we are just at the very beginning of actually thinking about not transmuting our IRL gatherings necessarily virtually, but what can we uniquely do that is an opportunity, particularly for people on this call who are, you know, obsessive organizers and gatherers and really sophisticated thinkers. How can we actually begin to encourage, to experiment with these tools in a way that create meaningful connection when you're not physically together?
Yes, this is amazing. So I think we're going to try this again. So we're going to send you all, we're going to try this into a breakout room. And the prompt is, so here's how we want to set this up. And actually, by the way, Priya and I are also going to be in them. So we might end up with you. For if they work, designate someone in your group to be the note taker, because we want to collect these ideas, things you've seen that worked, ideas you have that could work. And then the note takers, when you come back after the breakout room, post those into the chat, because we want to collect all of these ideas and share them back with you. And also there is a tweet in the New York City chapter that Emmeline has put up where you can keep adding your ideas as they come. So we can all as a hive mind tap into those. Okay, so
the prompt is?
The prompt is, have you seen people gather meaningfully in the digital world? What creative ideas have you liked, or what ideas do you have? Do you want to add on to that, Priya?
Yeah, just how have you seen people gathering meaningfully in the digital world, like really pushing the boundaries of the digital world? What creative ideas have you heard about or liked?
Yeah, so we're going to try this breakout room thing again. If you don't like your breakout room, if you don't feel comfortable, you can always leave the room, okay? And then we come back and we share what we've learned. Alexa, let's try this, or Christina, whoever is doing it, let's try this one more time. And I'm gonna, by the way, this is my cat, Rebel, who just knocked over my coffee.
Oh my gosh, his name is Rebel?
No, I just called her a rebel because she pushed
I was like, that's her name.
I call her Rebel now. And this is where she likes to sit. You know, this is her spot. All right, can I hear from Alexa or Christina if we're trying to make this happen? Control center, what are we doing?
We are trying to make it happen. It is currently not happening, but feel free to stretch.
Feel free to stretch. Okay, Lulu, I need to stretch. Oh my God. Okay, goodbye, cat. All right. Do you get any indication if it might happen?
The button appears clickable, but once clicked, unknown.
I've seen this issue with really large Zoom rooms, unfortunately.
Same.
And unfortunately, everybody, we couldn't test this. Because we couldn't have like 500 people just in a swoop here with us. All right, if it's not gonna work, I would say we're gonna improvise and we're just gonna have you put it in the chat, I would say. Like,
can we try this? Can we try put it in the chat, and then whoever has the master control, unmute that person and let them talk about it. So if you have a specific example that you think is worthy, this is like decision filter, right? Is worthy for the entire group to hear, no pressure. Put it in, like maybe put it in all caps or something, or raise hand. And let's just try to do it like 30 seconds each, call on somebody, whoever has the master control, so we can make this a little bit interactive since the breakout rooms aren't working.
Okay. Alexa, Christina, HQ team, you guys need to help me pick the people because
we're ready. Yeah, if we can do the hand raise feature, that would be, I think.
The digital hand raise feature?
The digital hand raise. So if y'all don't know how to raise your hand, if you can just click on participants at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a little blue hand. So if you have something to say, let's start. I see CM Cardiff. I'm going to unmute you. Tina. Great. You're on.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi.
Hello. Hi everyone. I am actually, no, I've just raised my hand and it was me. Right, quickly. So I am half Turkish and we have a Turkish gathering called a space called Meyhane, where people get together and have mezes and drinks. And that's a very like an all night thing. So the whole thing is about sharing food and sharing conversations and drinking and, like, you know, getting really kind of having pleasure through all of that. And this gathering by one of my friends was being done physically, obviously in London, but he had to carry it on to online. And now he's kind of found this way where he can create different tables, and we all get our raki. I don't know if you know what raki is. And we all like cook our little mezes, and everyone sits down with their food and raki, and we can see every other table interacting with each other. We can't hear it, so he mutes it, and then sometimes he'll unmute it so we can kind of shout out up to other tables. And I think now he's trying to basically get this to become an app so we can have online meyhanes, which is the closest thing you may know is a tavern, like a Greek tavern where you'll go and gather with friends to drink for hours.
Lovely. And when you say tables, do you mean each person's physical table in wherever they're sheltering in place?
So online, he's managed to create table 1, 2, 3. So there is one screen where you can see different tables and kind of the little heads of the people there. I think he's using Google Hangouts for this right now. See. And if I want to, I can reserve my table on, say, 1, but I can, during the session, I can actually go to somebody else's table and say hi to them.
Oh, beautiful example. So he's created a visual that is a table that is organized into 6 chairs or however much it is. And through then the back end, you can choose to enter a table, which is like a breakout room at some level. But by calling it a table, he's actually creating a very different relationship to each guest.
Exactly. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So everyone has a different experience, but also a common experience.
That's beautiful. Let's go to the next person. Just a couple of ideas on that. One thing I hear is, if we're working within the tools that we have, whether it's Zoom or Skype, to think about the language you use, right? Just because it's called a breakout room doesn't mean we have to call it a breakout room, right? You can call it a table. You can call it a igloo. You can call it a basket. You can call it a, we have 4, we have the living room and the kitchen and the sofa and the dining room, right? Be creative about your language. You don't necessarily have to inherit the language that these designers created, not for this purpose.
I love that.
Let's hear a few more examples.
I'm going to call on Jocelyn. All right, Jocelyn, you are unmuted.
Oh, hey, everybody.
Jocelyn!
Hi, Jocelyn.
So this is something that I did actually, which Tina knows about. So I practice Reiki, which is a form of energy healing. And because of this whole crisis, I started doing distance Reiki. Normally, you do Reiki in a one-on-one setting in person. And so I started doing distance sessions. I actually did one with Tina, a one-on-one session. And I was doing them with a bunch of friends, just kind of support and, help them through this time. And I realized there was a lot of commonality to I also learned how to guide people through it with my words. I usually don't speak in a one-on-one session in person. I had to switch and do this kind of guided meditation, like using my words for touch. And then I realized there was a lot of commonality to what I was saying to people. And I was like, wow, I wonder if we can do this as a group, you know? So this idea of like doing basically like mass Reiki, like mass energy healing, which would have never occurred to me in a different setting. And then, so I did the first one last week. I'm actually doing another one next week. I did it on Crowdcast. And so it was like maybe over 250 people came together. And then I had them all like lay down, and like after we did an introduction and kind of said hi, everyone laid down and didn't look at the screen. I had some tech glitches which happened, which were pretty funny. But you know, basically then talked everyone through this. So it's this really cool thing where like 250 plus people from all over the world came together, and we all moved through this kind of like energy healing meditation together, and you know, just did something that was really restorative for people.
And you probably wouldn't have done that, Jocelyn, if it wasn't for this moment in time.
No, absolutely.
And I think Jocelyn,
go ahead.
Sorry, can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
So it sounds like there's two things you did. One is to start to figure out, when I can't touch somebody, what are the tools that I have, and how do I transpose touch, in this case, into language, right?
Yeah, totally.
And then the second is, how does it shift the social contract between you and the client that you're individually serving when you're then doing the same thing with 250 people, some of whom you don't know what their body is like or have a previous existing relationship? How does your role shift when you're moving from an individual intentional connection to a collective crowd?
I mean, I think I'm still figuring that out to a degree. You know, what is it like to somehow to like interface with the energy of, you know, 250 plus people versus a single person? And that, you know, I think, you know, I've done this once at this point, so I'm still figuring it out, but I think it's more about tapping into like, okay, what do we as a group collectively need, you know, and doing that work, like doing the Reiki or doing the energy work, is completely like improvisational and intuitive. So it's really about like just what comes to you in the moment, and what are we kind of doing, you know, what's coming from this group energy in the moment. But I think it was also interesting figuring out like how do we get on this digital space where we usually see each other's faces and make people feel comfortable like laying down and doing something like a little bit different. Like that's something that's kind of interesting too. Like you're talking about how we use these tools in different ways.
Yeah. Let's go to the next person, but just a few ideas, if I may. One is, when you move from 1 to 250, particularly if you don't know who they are, the social contract does change. And so one thing you may want to play with over the next few experiments is to create some preconditions that is on whatever the invitation is, to say, this week we're going to be focusing on this. If this is true for you, then I invite you to join. If not, don't. Or these are 4 ways to take care of yourself while you're about to do this. Or like, not disclaimers so much, but filters. And you can do a lot of work through the invitation to figure out what is it that you are able to actually focus on, so that people are self-selecting in.
Beautiful. I think Kyle has some questions or examples from YouTube. Is that right, HQ team?
Yeah, lots of examples coming in from our YouTube stream. Hande has been holding breathwork groups with people all over the world. And Hande also hosted a field trip called Breathwork and Vision Board Making earlier this month, where all the participants made collages together, which is super cool. Katie said, we started a virtual show called Boxes, where we all come together in our boxes for a bi-weekly activity that's judged by a series of hosts. And some examples, creating a costume for royalty, pitching a product. And she said it's so much fun. We have Kristen, who shared that she hosted a virtual sound bath Creative Mornings field trip last weekend. I'm not purposefully calling out all the field trip hosts, just FYI, just finding the examples at random. It was so wonderful to connect. It was amazing to see the power of sound travel all over the world and connect with the community. And I really like this one from Samantha, who's been cooking at home with her mom and her brother. They pick a pantry meal, they make a cocktail, and they toast while they cook and eat from their respective kitchens over FaceTime. And Samantha closed with, it makes her Sundays brighter.
One thing that I'm interested in, and just to plant a seed with you all, is if you've read The Art of Gathering, you know, I'm a fan of heat.
Oh, yes, you are.
And heat can come from many places, right? Heat is conflict, healthy conflict. Heat is risk. Heat are stakes, right? Like gatherings matter when there's some element of stakes in it. And like the hot tub example made everyone laugh at some level. It's not just this embodied practice where everyone gets a hot tub now, but also the naughty truth or dare, right? Which is actually, it's like all of a sudden you're like, right? But similarly, like in the example from the YouTube, the judges, right? Just putting in judges all of a sudden adds some stakes. It doesn't, the judges can be your 7-year-old. It doesn't matter. So I'm really interested. I think loneliness and connection and just comfort and company is deeply important. And it's one vector, right? The second that I'm hearing some of the categories is service, right? Reiki is service. Sound baths are service. At some level, even song, like singing, depending on the relationship, is service. And I think there's this kind of third category that I'm interested in to really push it is, if we're in this for a while, how do you create gatherings where there's healthy conflict? Mm-hmm. What does risk look like in virtual gatherings, right? What does relevance look like in virtual gatherings when it's not just nice, but there's some push in it? And I think we're all, I mean, I know I'm like a cat in the headlights, deer in the headlights, deer in the fog, whatever the analogy is. and we're just kind of coming out of it. And right now, like it's almost like Maslow's hierarchy of gathering needs. Like at first you just kind of need to make sure you're okay with the people that you love and connect with. But as we start kind of waking back up, and if this is for a long time, I think some of the deepest needs right now from a gathering perspective is learning how to design and host and hold gatherings with heat. Competition,
you know what's so interesting,
exactly.
You know what's so interesting, Priya, is that actually because of our tech failures, we actually have now moved spontaneously into what we were all afraid of, because we weren't sure if just giving people the mic, because we've had, unfortunately, some really bad Zoom bombing examples in the other chapters. So we were really aware of the risk we're taking by handing the stage to, you know, someone in the audience. But here we are, and it's beautiful. So, I mean, I feel like we've moved into a very risky area by doing what we're just doing right now. But I want to call out Hayden. I think Hayden is lined up to be our next example. Yes, I got a thumbs up from Alexa.
Hey, yeah, how's it going? This might be really simple, but I think the breadth of my ideas has really opened up. I taught a couple classes or had some small groups, like a book group or some other things, which I had done locally. So it's just, you know, the 5 people that came to visit in my city. And now being able to do a digital or converting these things into digital meetings really opened up my breadth. I invited my mom to a couple things like Kyle, and the idea of inviting people who wouldn't have been able to attend to be able to attend helped me connect in really cool ways. And like I got to see my dad teach his class and things like that I wouldn't have been able to do. It's really nice to even just peek in and to experience other people's lives through this digital.
It's a beautiful insight. And I think to me, it's one of the cracking opens in not just in personal, but in the public sphere, right? Mm-hmm. So I got an email, a text a few weeks ago from a friend who proposed to her girlfriend. She fortunately said yes. And then they like opened the computer and there's 140 faces of their community from around the world with signs saying like, love is not canceled. And she texted me later and she said, what was so beautiful about it was like, my grandmother came, my grandmother was there. And my like nephew who's studying abroad in Japan was there. And if it was not during this Corona time, if we had an engagement party, my grandmother couldn't attend, right? Or if we had an engagement party, like someone in Japan couldn't come. This is actually, it's changing our idea of who can actually participate in some of these gatherings. But this is also happening at the public square. Like the Supreme Court, for the first time in its history, is meeting virtually, is hearing the entire procedure virtually, and is live streaming it from the public to the public. So this element of like who can see what and why is going to ripple through all of our gatherings, and I think starting to also look at structures of power.
I so agree, and I'm so glad you brought that up, Hayden, this example. By the way, happy belated birthday. It was your birthday yesterday. I had the same experience. I just want to share this because I felt like I got a glimpse into a bubble that I'm normally never in by participating. I was invited into a Burning Man healing group they always gather at Burning Man, and because it's now virtual, they are gathering on Zoom. And my friend invited me in, and I'm not necessarily going to Burning Man, but I'm intrigued by it. And here I was participating in this group, and to me, it was almost like I felt like I can now tap into different worlds that I couldn't before easily. So I think that's a wonderful example. I think we have one more, Priya, before we're going to conclude. I think Matthew is next. Is that right?
Hello, everyone. I just want to say everyone looks so amazing today. It's so fun to see everyone. This has just been amazing.
Thanks,
I do a project called Subway Therapy, where I invite people to write on sticky notes in the New York subway. And I've always allowed people to contribute online, and then I write their notes for them and put them up in the subway in New York. But as you can see behind me, I write the notes for people that respond to different questions. And so I've actually been accruing all these different sticky note walls that are responding to different questions. And so I do things like that. I highly recommend it if you have a community that you want to write questions for. And I'm actually going to be doing this next week. If people don't know about it, the Municipal Art Society is going to be doing a bunch of online programming for Jane's Walk NYC, which celebrates Jane Jacobs. She was a really amazing activist in New York. And so as an activation with them, I'm going to be collecting people's favorite places in New York. This is actually like the announcement, I guess, that I'm doing this. So I'll be collecting people's favorite places, writing them on sticky notes, probably drawing really bad illustrations of them, or inviting some friends to do illustrations of the things that people send in.
Very cool.
Yeah, I have more things I'm doing, but I don't want to hog the time.
The question is, how can we move this also virtually? The sticky note wall, right?
Yeah, so there are a couple of things that have popped up of people like doing virtual sticky note walls, but I don't know, there's something about the physicality of it that I think is important. And so I think I could transport it online to have like a visual of sticky note walls. But I don't know, there's something about it. I send a lot of pictures of what people say online. I share them, and, you know, to be able to just grab them and show people, like, it's just so, there's something about the physicality of it that I've always enjoyed in person.
I love a good analog sticky wall. Thank you so much for sharing, Matthew. Yeah. Hey, Priya, I know this has been all over the place. Do you still have time for a few questions, or do you need to run? How are you doing on time?
I'm good.
Okay, cool. Why don't we, hey team, how should we go about the questions? Should we put them in the chat and we can pick them?
Yeah, and I know Kyle's got some YouTube questions for us.
Okay, why don't we start with some YouTube questions then, if Kyle has some.
I'm multitasking, I'm watching the YouTube chat, the Twitter streams. Someone sent facts somehow. I don't know how it's happening, but the first question here.
Kyle, can I just applaud you on your red suit? Your outfit is on point.
I just want to point out that I bought this on Amazon for $27. And this is probably the 10th time I'm wearing it, which has just completely shocked me that it hasn't just ripped to shreds yet, but I'm getting a lot of it.
You look good, Kyle.
So here's a great question from Jean-Marie on YouTube. I'd love to hear about experiences with risk in virtual gatherings. Today, we're announcing a puppetry conference that we are making digital, wondering how people can have supported a risky environment.
Great question. I also see in the chat box, Tony said we're underestimating the ability to use the mail just as a, as a way to transfer things. So risk, the way I think about risk, I said this earlier, is stakes, right? What are the stakes of this gathering? So very simply, if you just go back to the birthday example I used before, the 17-year-old, the stakes of that gathering were a couple in that context. One is her like coming out to her friends as a reader, right? You may not think that's risky, but in this context, to actually say like, I like to read. It's not something my parents were making me to do. I like to read. And then to invite the people, not strangers, but the people in her life to then not only see her as a reader, but to partake in that activity, not only to do it for 20 minutes, but to say, will they join me for 12 hours? This is ridiculous, right? So there's an element of social risk in that gathering. So if we look at the puppet example, there's a number of different forms of risk, and risk not as a bad thing. I don't know the context, but risk can come from showing your art to people whose opinions you care about, right? And that, in some cases, for some people, could be your family or your community, and in other people, it could be like the best puppeteer in your city, right? Like risk is relational, meaning it's like it's through each other that social risk emerges. It could be a competition, the same way somebody said earlier. And again, the competition should be based on values. So if there's 5 things they're judging it on, it could be handiness. It could be you can only make a puppet from what you already have in your home. It could be, analog, no digital, or it could be you need to do something where your puppet is both analog and digital. But the design constraints should reflect what it is you're trying to build your community around or build your puppeteering around. But it really depends on the context. I mean, the other way to think about it is if there are, in any community, there are fault lines, right? And I don't know the puppeteering world, but I'm sure there's like old schoolers and new schoolers. There's people who would never use a needle, and there's people who are needle only. I'm making this up. But what if at the beginning or at the end, you get you have a debate around the kind of the 3 most deeply controversial. I mean, just now we were having a little bit of a debate about Post-its. It was really interesting to watch in the chat. And some of the debates, so I saw end analog Post-its. I saw no, analog Post-its are the thing that you actually need texture, you need physicality. I saw you should use one big Post-it, and then I saw, what if you need to do it digitally? That was actually a really interesting conversation that we didn't frame up, right? So if we were going to have a risky conversation around the use of Post-its, the values underlying them that I heard are in sustainability and environmentalism, the relationship to the body, right? The relationship to space, the ability to actually assume that you either have access to digital tools or you have access to Post-its, accessibility. So in like 6 chats, actually, if you're really thinking about it, you could create a heated conversation in this community that is helpful. It creates generative conflict, meaning it helps us all think about our higher values for progress about Post-its.
I love that. Hey team, how are we picking the next question?
We can call on Ben Toma, who has his hand raised, our Austin host.
Austin host, Ben.
Let's see.
I want to give a shout out to Ben. He and his event, he was one of the very first ones to move our events digital, and I was in tears. He is a fearless leader of Creative Mornings. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Tina. Hi, New York City. Thanks for letting us join in fun today. It's been incredible to make a meal while y'all were doing your events, eat with my kids, and now they're off doing school and playing, and I get to have a conversation. Thank you for letting me ask a question. Priya, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts in this time, and I've been thinking a lot about how we come together in these gatherings to grow our empathy towards each other, and then have room to have tough conversations because we understand each other better on a human level. And I'm very worried personally about the way that our leaders are or are not doing that right now. I'm curious if you have any insight into how our leaders might grow together in this time, or are we all just becoming more divisive because we're running to our own comfortable virtual corners? You've dealt in conflict management and bringing tough conversations together. Is that still happening? And if not, how can it still happen?
It's such a great question, and it's good to see you. So I think, I think that we're in a moment of time that's very complicated, obviously, but particularly for a leadership perspective. So there's a couple, even if, so I think the deepest threat to your question is one word, which is trust. And it's trust between leaders and trust of good intent, particularly at the very top. But it's also more dangerously is trust within the population. And from a conflict resolution perspective, when you don't have any amount of trust at any level, right? So within the social fabric, or at the level of institutions, or at the level of individual relationships with elected officials, it is a very, very, it's a precondition. Like some level of minimal trust is a precondition to be able to actually like build something together. And my fear right now is that physical distancing. I'm going to use social distancing for now because that's what's actually being used in the popular press. Unfortunately, and I think unlike most other countries, is being politicized, right? And so you have the president saying like, liberate Minnesota, liberate Virginia, liberate Michigan, which he means defy the social distancing bans and go back to work, go out on the street. And so I think one of the things that's really complicated right now is we and our leaders are both trying to figure out, I mean, the questions on this call are pretty sophisticated. How do we virtually gather? How do we think about coordinating? How do we coordinate groups? How do you, all of these different technical and sociological questions. And they're trying to do this simultaneously while the social civic fabric is completely frayed. So to be honest, I'm worried. And I think that there are certain leaders right now who are, like every moment, made for this time. I mean, made for a time. I think Andrew Cuomo, I mean, there's been all these pieces about how he was kind of this forgotten, backwater leader at some level. Governors didn't matter before this moment as much as they did pre-George Bush. He's arriving at a certain moment, and I think he's an interesting leader to watch, in part because he's paying attention both to leadership, but also the psychology of the community. Mm-hmm. But I think that this is a moment where I talk about this so the next podcast little preview is about schools. And we explore this idea of going big and going small. And what I mean by that is I think this is a moment where we actually have an opportunity for some leaders to do more national moments. And I'm not talking about a press conference. I'm talking about like a collective funeral. Right? A national convocation, right? A 4th of July that we all watch. I mean, maybe that's different because you can get out and like sit on a blanket 6 feet apart, but this is a moment for big and small. And we can do the small, but we need our leaders to do the big. Exactly, Obama commencement speech. Or, and I think Obama is okay personally because he's not currently in a position of authority, but for many in the country, he's a divisive figure. So I don't know who it is. And actually, I'd love to hear, but exactly, a national graduation ceremony, not just for the seniors, not just for the families, for all of us, right? We all feel badly for those seniors. What would a national prom look like? But it's not just one. Then you have to figure out what's the small embedded local versions. And like, we got that.
I love your call for that, Priya. My gears are turning, and I think, when we prepared for this call, you sort of said something along the lines of like, this is catapulting us into the future, like pushing us so quickly into what is possible and how we gather. And yes. I really love that notion that this is just really accelerated right now. And
it's forcing us to.
Yeah. I think looking at the clock, and I'm sure people have busy. I unfortunately,
we need to close.
I could talk for hours with you. I'm just so appreciative of you being with us here today, and braving all the Wi-Fi issues that we all had.
Yeah, thank you for bearing with me.
Thank you so much, Priya. It really means a lot to us and the community that you were willing to share with us. And please follow Priya. Like, if you're interested in what she's doing, the work she's doing, go to priyaparker.com, sign up for her newsletter, follow the New York Times podcast, subscribe to it. It's called Together Apart. We'll send all of that. It's also in the chat right now after the event as well. But Priya, thank you. And can we all give like the jazz hands to Priya or whatever?
Thank you. And can I make one more call to action?
Yes.
If you have, I know you're putting together all of these ideas and I can't wait to see them. If you have other ideas, you can also email me, but also if you have a future gathering that's been canceled that you're trying to figure out, particularly if it's remote work meetings that you're trying to figure out where there's like a specific challenge, or if you have anybody who are trying to figure out gatherings in hospitals, or in the activist space, please, so you can submit potential podcast episodes at priyaparker.com/podcast. And I know the people on this call are thinking very deeply about a lot of different gatherings. And so we would love to hear from you.
Oh, that's amazing.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for continuing to figure out how to create meaningful connection around the world. I see Cluj-Napoca and Lisbon and Bombay, and it just warms my heart sitting in New York, seeing all of you. So thank you.
Thank you, Priya. And now we are going to Kyle for this 30-second pitch wheel.
I've got just the thing for this. 1 second. Let me get out of the way. Let me get out of my own way. This is another tradition for those of you joining us for the first time. This tradition comes from the Toronto chapter. And again, this event, as well as most of our events in New York, are just an amalgamation of the amazing ideas that our volunteers come up with around the world. So each month we invite a handful of community members to take the stage for 30 seconds. They can pitch a room of wonderful Creative Morning people, anything they want. If they're looking for work, if they have a passion project, if they're hiring. This month we've selected 3 community members making a difference in New York during this pandemic. We're starting with Amelia Burris-Granger. Amelia, welcome. Take it away.
Hi, I'm Amelia Burris-Granger, and I'm here to tell you about Face Mask Aid. We're a volunteer-run organization providing washable and reusable 3-layer non-PPE masks to frontline workers. We supply pre-cut kits to home sewers in the New York area and then distribute them out to essential workers, 6,000 so far. You can purchase masks with our 1-for-1 model, donate directly to our GoFundMe, request mask donations, volunteer with us, or start your own. Learn more at facemaskedaid.com.
Thanks so much, Amelia. And I practiced saying your last name and I still screwed it up. I'm sorry. Thank you so much. Next up, please welcome Peter Macario. Peter, take it away.
Hey all, my name is Peter Macario. I just want to spotlight mutual aid and everything that's going on. I'm a community moderator at Greenpoint Community Strong, which is a Slack hub connecting neighbors in Greenpoint and Williamsburg to share resources, have fun, most importantly, provide support to neighbors, frontline communities, and frontline workers affected by COVID-19. I'm also part of the North Brooklyn Mutual Aid, and one of the many kind of incredible mutual aid organizations that are happening around New York City. And I encourage you all strongly to join any mutual aid area group that's in your area or your neighborhood, because that's really important, just to be connected and make sure that you're supporting kind of the neighbors and the neighborhood that's around you. You can find them on mutualaid.nyc. And more importantly, once we're connected by mutual aid, we can create a better city, create better communities, and create better gatherings. So thank you so much, and hope you guys all can join.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks so much. Now, Emily Smith.
Hi, I'm Emily Smith. I'm the founder of Chorus. Chorus is a matchmaking app where friends swipe for friends. We're all about bringing community back to dating and making it less lonely and more human. You always swipe for others, so even if you're partnered, you can support your single friends. And in the wake of quarantine, we also just launched Dating Roulette, where we pair daters on mini video dates to facilitate more authentic ways to meet each other. And we've already made tons of matches. So go to getchorus.co to learn more or follow us on Instagram.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Emily. And thank you to all 3 of you for leading with courage and heart during this difficult time in support of other New Yorkers and for single people. And for those of you watching, the details of these pitches are being shared in the chat, and they'll be in the follow-up email, which will also contain an important survey. Tina, back to you.
Thank you, Kyle. Also, if you want to be considered for one of these pitches for next month, there is going to be a type form you can apply, or a link where you can apply in the chat right now, and we follow up with that in the email afterwards as well. We really love to keep this tradition alive with giving you the mic at our events. All right, before we conclude, I want to do a little experiment and just see how you guys are all feeling. So listen to my instructions before you do anything, but basically my question to you is, how are you feeling right now? What are 1 or 2 words that come to mind? Type it into the chat box, but don't hit send yet. And by the way, the YouTubers, you can do the same thing on your chat. So what are you feeling right now? What is it? Anxious? Is it happy? Is it like whatever it is? No judgment here. put it in, and at the count of 3, we'll hit send. 1, 2, 3, go. Whoa, happy, soulful, buoyant, hungry, me too. Stuck, connected, relieved, caffeinated, uplifted, inspired. This makes me happy. This is beautiful. I feel very relieved that we're almost at the end of our very first event, to be honest, and I can't wait to change out of my soaking wet coffee pants. So this is it. Our first Creative Mornings New York Digital. I want to again thank my team, Kyle, Christina, Julie, Lisa, Alexa, Emmeline, Catherine, and Monica for their hard work in putting this together. I have a whole newfound respect for all of our hosts around the world. Ben, I'm looking at you and all of the other hosts for moving these events digital. You are moving mountains, and we see you and we appreciate you. And if today's event has made you feel connected, some of you said, and has really nourished your soul, tap into our field trips. They're small workshops led by people like you, connecting our community, spearheaded by the wonderful Christina, who's making them all happen. They're just a beauty. I've crafted with people, I've stretched with people. I mean, it's just so beautiful. And I really feel like we all need to feel this connection in the time we're in. And Field Trips is here for you in between the monthly events. And if you're hiring, if you happen to have lost your job, check out our job board, or just check out our job board. We're happy to help make connections here. And closing out, I just want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for showing up. It's really cool to get a glimpse into your homes, I must say. Some of you are regulars, and now I see where you live. This is kind of cool. And I would like to ask you to really think about how you can create magic among your people, your family, your friends, your interest groups for this time that we're in. Pick yourself. Don't wait for anyone else to pick yourself. We all can make a difference. Invent your own way of bringing people together, be puzzling, virtual dinners, game nights, book clubs. We really have to be here for each other, and we have to bring joy. And as Priya says, in this time, we should, rather than checking out, we should be checking in. And we really have an opportunity to be creative with the digital tools that previous generations couldn't have imagined. So during this unpredictable and painful time, let's invent creative, meaningful ways of being together apart. I want to thank my team once more. You're wonderful, you're the best. Our organizers around the world, we're so happy to see you here with us in New York. And as always, I want to end with a quote. Do not be dismayed by the brokenness of the world. All things break and all things can be mended, not with time, as they say, but with intention. So go, love intentionally, extravagantly, unconditionally. The broken world waits in darkness for the light that is you, by L.R. Nost. And now, please all put yourself in gallery view as we dance.